Good morning and happy Sunday to everybody. Welcome to another Sharing Sunday with me, Helen Armstrong from Pandora Pop's Craft and Joyful Moments. And for those of you who do not know me, I'm Helen Armstrong. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator based in Wilmslow, Cheshire in the United Kingdom. I've recently started in the last sort of year or so putting videos out, just sharing my joy of crafting. Yes, I do use Stampin' Up products. I've been with Stampin' Up for around about 2 years, 2 and a bit years now. I do love their products. Yes, they are a little bit more on the expensive side, but I do find that they are very well made and they last an awful long time. I've not had to re-ink my stamp pads. I've not had to replace any of my ink pens, anything like that over the last 2 years. So they do last really, really well. Today I'm going to share with you this card that I've made using the Faraway Landscapes stamp set, which is currently out, and my favourite at the moment, Fern Flora. I've actually only used the Thankful for You stamp and the border to go around the Thankful for You, and I've cut out, as you can see on the card, just cut it out using my stamp and emboss machine. So I'm using watercolour paper. I've used watercolour pencils. I don't claim to be a colourist or a watercolourist at all. I did this very quickly this morning. I would hope if you were doing this, you would spend a little bit more time on it. I'm going to show you exactly what I did. So maybe the second generation may be a little bit better. I'm also using the papers from the Fern Flora suite as well, because I do absolutely adore these papers, and I think it went quite well with the forest scene that I'm using. Okay, so let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to do some distressing on our paper. Okay, I haven't decided which one I'm going to use yet, whether I'm going to use that for the background and swap things over and have that on the front, or I could have this, or I could have those two. I'm not sure about those two. Could have that, but I'm actually erring more towards, I think, no, it's too busy. I think those two, or maybe, I think I'm just going to swap them around. I think because I really love these papers. Okay, so we're going to distress. I'm going to use our scissors to distress the edges of the paper. So I'm just going to run my scissors along the edge of the paper, just distressing that edge a little bit. I am left-handed, so it's probably better if I do it this way. I apologise if that's better. I just get a better grip on the paper. So yeah, that's all we're doing, just distressing the edges of the paper. I'm going to do it on all sides and on both the large and the medium paper. So I hope you've had a wonderful week. It's not been as busy here in the Armstrong household, thank goodness. Not been up to an awful lot. I've been taking part in a virtual retreat for demonstrators this weekend and loved every minute of it. And this card is actually based on one of the cards that was made using a completely different suite by one of the demonstrators. But as soon as I saw her using that suite, I knew I had to use the landscapes because I just absolutely loved them and I was drawn to them immediately, but I've not used them as much as I thought I would do. But I thought this would just lend itself really, really well to it. matter if you get dug into the side of the paper like that. You just, as I say, distressing it just to give it that little bit of a look. Okay, the next thing we need to do with our paper is that we're going to just fold back the edges. You can scrumple the edges a little bit, just like that. Same on the other corner. You could do all 4 corners if you wanted to. Actually, I might try that for this one. I only did 2 corners on the other one. I might do all 4 just to see what it looks like. It might be a little bit too much, but we'll see. So yeah, I'm just scrumpling that down a bit. Yeah, scrumpling the edges. Okay, let's do it with this one. Yeah, what's happening in the world of Stampin' Up this so we still have the promotion on. So this is May 2026 and we've currently got a joining promotion that if you join in the UK for £99 or £95 I think it is, you get £125 worth of product, but you can also choose the new in colour our new ink pads, and you get those free, or you can choose an extra £35 worth of product. The actual pads themselves, if you got the pack, are worth £63 or thereabouts, so it is a good offer if you wanted to take advantage of that. And if you decide that it's something that you'd like to do, I'd love to be your team leader. I do have currently only 1 person under me, so I'd love it if you know, I'd love people more to join, because I'd really like to share my expertise with people and invite them to come and join me either in person or virtually. So yeah, so there is that fantastic offer going on at the moment. And if you wanted to search for me, my name is Helen Armstrong. You'd find me on the Stampin' Up website. So yeah, okay, so we've got these 2 bits done, so that's those. And I'm actually going to glue them to the card ready. I don't normally push the fact that I'm a demonstrator and would like to build my team, but with this such a good offer, I just thought it was a chance to do that. As I just love sharing what I do. And I think one of the best things ever is receiving a handmade card through the post from somebody. I think it's just absolutely lovely. Whether you've made it or not, it just shows that you've gone to that little bit extra effort to actually source something which is a little bit different from the norm. Yeah. And I think everybody appreciates that. Okay, trying to just centre that as best I possibly can. The good thing about the Tombow green glue is that it does give you that little bit of wiggle room, as I'm sure you've heard me mention lots of times before if you've watched my videos. Okay. That's the card basic, but I'm going to quickly just put the inside in, because we are going to stamp this when we do our other bits of stamping. So I'm just going to stick this in the middle. Okay, that's that in, and that's the start of our card. Now, next thing we need to do is do our stamping. Now, I've already got my sentiment ready, so it was just to save some time rather than me showing you cut it out and what have you. I have already done that, but I am going to do the stamping of our scene, and I'm going to be using again the scene here, which is the forest going into the mountains. It is my favourite, I have to say. I'm using VersaFine Claire to do this. You could use StazOn. Stampin' Up have brought out a new hybrid ink which you can use, but it takes a very long time to dry, which is why I decided I was going to just use the VersaFine Clair today. So this doesn't take too long to dry. I'm just making sure if you press it down with this, just let it sit for a little bit. If you're using the VersaFine Clair, just let it sit for a little bit and then lift off. Okay, and then we're going to just ink this side of the stamp, and I'm just going to put it, doing it slightly differently to how I did the other one. Oh, can I redo that? Probably not. I've probably made a mess of that now. I did make a mess of that now. So I will, luckily I do have, shouldn't have stuck it in. Rookie mistake, sticking it in. And I didn't leave it long enough, did I? Okay. So let's hold it there. Much better. Okay, just means that we're going to get a double back on the card, which will actually give it a little bit more stability. Did I do it like that purposely? Of course I did. No, I didn't. Learn from my mistakes. Do not stick it in, because if you don't stick it in, you've always got the other side that you can restamp it on. Now, had I used my stamping in positioner or another stamping tool, obviously I could have just gone straight over the top again, because it would have been in that position, but no. Okay, so cards are getting ready. Now we're going to bring in and we're going to do some watercolouring. So I've got Stampin' Up watercolour pencils here. You can use any colour pencils that you have, watercolour pencils or pens or anything that you have to colour in. I just decided to do it with the watercolour pencils, and I've mainly used I used crushed curry, garden green. I used the blue. I didn't use Coastal Cabana, but I'm going to add a little bit of that. That's my second garden green. I did use a little bit of Granny Apple Green. And I definitely haven't used Fresh Freesia, but I have used Daffodil Delight, Flirty Flamingo, Gorgeous Grape, and Pumpkin Pie to do my sky. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to just start with my greens. So I'm just going to do a little bit on the trees. And then I'm going to do some on the hills bit here and down to here. A little bit in the back. As I say, you will take your time. I always say this to you in my videos. You take your time. I'm just doing this for quickness because I don't want the videos to last too long. Putting some green on the trees and a little bit down here on those bushes, a bit darker. Okay, and then I'm going to come in a little bit with my lighter green. I'm going to mix those two together. Must remember I'm always also coming down here because I'm carrying on the card at the bottom. Pick up my lighter green again. Okay, and I'm just going to add a little bit of green at the very base of the mountains, which is something I didn't do in the last one. And then I'm going to come in with my crushed curry, which is a slight brown when it's in this form. Not the bright orange. Okay, and I'm just going over bits where I've not gone before and into my mountains. Okay, then I'm just going to come in and add some for my water. And then add a little bit of Pool Party just to lighten that up a little bit. It'd be interesting to see how that turns out. Right, so the next thing is my sky. So I wanted to create a bit of a sunset effect. So the first one I'm going to use is Daffodil Delight. Just coming in. And then I went in with my pumpkin pie. I'm going to cross the clouds because I can always use my white pen later if I wanted to make those more distinctive. I then came in with my Flirty Flamingo to add that bit of pink across the sky. So you see, I'm not doing it particularly taking my time over it, and I'm not, you know, making sure that all my strokes are even or anything like that, because I'm going to add water to it. Okay, so the next thing is I'm just going to grab a wet wipe, and I'm just going to get my water painter and get off the paint that I've already used. Make sure I've got some water coming down. Okay, and then we're going to start with our greens. I'm going to start here. And that water is just blending them all together. So we're getting a little bit of dark where I've added the darker bits of green. And I'm going to do the same over here. Again, it goes a bit darker where we've got those darker splotches. I'm just bringing it off the edge. Okay, then to the trees and behind there. Okay, and then the last bit I'm going to do is I'm just going to do these trees here. Okay. And I'm going to wipe this off. And then I'm going to take the colour up. Again, I'm just going to make sure I've got enough water on my brush. And I'm just going to take the colour up into the sky from my mountains. All the way across. I think I might add a little bit more water to my brush so I can sweep it up into that sky. Okay, so the last thing we need to do is our water. So I'm just blending up, following that stream into the back there. And then bringing that down. Oh, I just realised to put my finger where it shouldn't be. Okay, what you can do now is if you want your sky that little bit brighter, which I think I might do, you can go over again with the pink and the purple, and then do a bit more blending up. Yep, it's not blending as well as I'd hoped it was going to do. That might be my watercolour paper. That's probably because I didn't leave it to dry. That's my mistake. Okay, I'm not going to worry about it. Okay. When have I yet made a card where I didn't make mistakes? Okay, so don't do what I did. Wait till it dries a little bit and then add it. I might go over that in a little while when it finishes, just to I might actually go over it now and just add that little bit depth of colour. Yeah, and use my finger. Okay, let's just add a little bit of that pink. drifting it in with my finger. Yeah, the thing is I didn't leave it to dry, which is taking off the top layer of the paper. That's why it's not worked. That's a bit better though. I'm happy with that. Okay. So we have a black piece of card we're going to layer it onto. This is the next thing we're going to do. What we need to do is make sure that it is stuck down. If you don't leave it to dry, which I'm not, you're going to get a curl on your card like this. So I would leave it to dry, and if you can, put something flat on it, like a block, just to leave it to dry for a little bit or to flatten it out. But obviously with the video we don't have enough time. What I should have done is done another second one just so we could build the card. But there we go. Okay. Okay, so I've added the glue. I'm just going to set my block. Whilst I'm doing that, I may as well clean my block. I'd love to hear whether you like using landscape stamps or whether you prefer building up your own landscapes. Okay, so let's bring our card back in. But before we add this to the centre, we are going to add some thread around it, I think. Or what we could do this time, instead of adding thread, we do have some of our ferns we could add. Actually, I might add ferns instead. Right, let's get this on our card first. It's interesting how I change everything up, isn't it, as I go along. Let's just get our dimensionals on. Okay. Take the backing off. I love when I use the ones where I've actually put lines on so I can see when I've not removed the backing. Makes it a little bit easier when I'm crafting. Okay, so I'm going to try and find a place for that in the middle and make sure I'm trying to ensure that it is centered as best I can and that it's straight. Okay. Now we can bring in our sentiment, which we're going to have just going off here. But before we do that, I think I am going to quickly use some of these just to add that little bit more dimension to that front side of the card. Okay. I've got some pinky ones as well that we can add in to sort of bring in the colours that's on our card. But we don't want to make it too fussy. Okay. I do like this colour. This is the Golden Glow. So I didn't mention what background card I'm using. It's the Peaceful Pine, which is part of this suite. Do I want just the tip of that one? Possibly. Okay, let's just layer these up. So I'm going to put, I think, my green and my pink in the background, so I'm just going to stick those together first. I think I'm actually going to use a bit of tear and tape because I know then it will definitely stick and hold. Excuse me. Okay, now we're just going to build our rest up. Tearing tape is super sticky and it will hold for a very, very long time. Okay, and then let's do our last little bit, which is, in fact, I might just put a dab of glue on that one. Okay. Just let that hold for a second, just press it down, just so the glue adheres. Okay, and then we can add our little bunch to the back here, and we're going to add it with some dimensionals. Make sure you can't see them behind, which you can't. And then the last thing we need to do is just add our sentiment. Do we need to just, that looks slightly too flat. I think I might remove that one. Okay. Do we need to move it across a little bit? Oh, possibly. Let's just peel those off. Move them down and across. Okay, that's better. And then what we're going to do is, because we've already got dimensionals underneath, we're going to put one dimensional there, but we're going to put two on this side. So one there, and then we're going to build up and layer two on top of the other. There we go. Just try and look to see if that's straight, or do we need to move that down slightly? Maybe. There we go. Let's just move that piece of tape off. Is that straight, or do we need to? Yeah, I think it needs to just move slightly further. Right, okay. All right. What do we think? So we have both now. Let me know which one you prefer, either the one with the twine. Do we need something extra on there? Possibly. Or do you prefer the one with a little bit of ferns? And also, did we like more of the distressing here? Or do you prefer just the corners to be distressed? It'd be great if you could let me know in the comments below. But I hope you've enjoyed this little tutorial for Sharing Sunday. As I say, we have used the Far and Away landscapes. And also we have used the sentiment from Fern Flora and the little box that went round it, and the paper from Fern Flora. So if you want to have a look, take your time, have a look. If anybody wants a catalogue, I do have some available. If you're watching in the next couple of months and you're in the United Kingdom, get in contact. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram. So yeah, you'll find me on lots of different platforms. But okay, as I said, I hope you've enjoyed that quick tutorial, and hope that it may make you want to try something like this. So thank you very much for watching, as always. It does make a difference to me and what I can create going forward, absolutely. So take care, everybody. Have a wonderful week in the coming week. I hope you get some better weather than we've had recently. And always remember, craft your joy.